Welcome you all to the weekly session. I am very much grateful to our President and Secretary in Oncology Club. And today the first presentation is first presenter is Dr. Mobina Akhtar. Mobina, she is consultant Gynae Oncology National Cancer Institute. She will present the journal club, then debate session, then the research methodology topics on. I firstly request you all that you please don't ask any question. If you have any question, please raise your hand in your screen. Um, there is a area where it is written that you write your question in the chat box. So everybody can write question in the chat box and we can answer the question. স্যার তাহলে ডাকবো একে মবিনাকে স্যার জোনাকি ঢোকেন না না আমি আবার দিচ্ছি আপনাকে Now I request Dr. Mobina Akhtar to present her journal. Dr. Mobina, please.
Madam, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you.
আমি আপনাকে মেইল করছি মেইল
Sir, slides are visible.
Yes, it's visible.
So can I start now?
Sure.
Okay, sir, thank you. Respected audience, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to all. I'm Dr. Mobina, Junior Consultant in NICH, now going to present today's journal. The title of today's article is A Randomized Trial of Pelvic Radiation Therapy versus No Further Therapy in Selected Patients with Stage 1B Carcinoma of the Cervix after Radical Hysterectomy and Pelvic Lymphadenectomy, a Gynecologic Oncology Group study. It was published on May 1999 at Gynecologic Oncology Journal, and the first author was Alexander Sedlis. The paper was selected because determination of adjuvant pelvic radiotherapy in stage 1B node-negative cervical cancer patients having certain risk factors is a standard practice based on this landmark trial. The journal has high impact value with the impact factor 4.623 and the article was cited for 1,006 times. Stage 1 cervical cancer has a relatively favorable prognosis after radical hysterectomy or radiotherapy, and the cure rate is 80%. But the mortality rate is 20% after surgery, which remain unchanged during the last 3 decades. There are certain clinical and pathological risk factors for recurrence, such as pelvic lymph node metastasis, which decrease 5-year survival 38 to 61%. But there are some additional risk factors, such large tumor diameter, deep stromal invasion, and capillary lymphatic space involvement, which were recently recognized and were less extensively investigated than lymph node metastasis. 25% of all stage 1B cervical cancer patients have these risk factors. Previous GOG study confirmed that these additional risk factors also increase the probability of cancer recurrence at 3 years from 2 to 31%. Several authors propose that patients with risk factors such as large tumor diameter, deep stromal invasion, and capillary lymphatic space involvement might benefit from postoperative radiotherapy. So, the GOG 92 was conducted to evaluate the benefits and risks of adjuvant radiotherapy for stage 1B cervical cancer patients treated by radical hysterectomy and pelvic lymphadenectomy who were at high risk for recurrence because of additional risk factors such as large tumor diameter, deep stromal invasion, and capillary lymphatic space involvement with no lymph node metastasis. So the aim of the study was whether postoperative pelvic radiotherapy following radical hysterectomy and pelvic node dissection would reduce the rate of recurrence and decrease the mortality in stage 1B cervical cancer patients with previously described risk factors found on microscopic examination. It was a prospective randomized controlled trial conducted at multiple centers in the different parts of USA such as New York, Los Angeles, Pennsylvania, California, Chicago, etc. The study period was from March 1988 to September 1995, and prior to entry on study, written informed consent was obtained from all patients. So, the inclusion criteria was patient with primary stage 1B cervical cancer with a stenosis squamous, adenosquamous or adenocarcinoma who were treated with standard radical hysterectomy and have no lymph node metastasis with one of the combination of the following risk factors such as positive CLS with deep 1/3 of stromal invasion with any tumor size, or positive CLS with middle 1/3 of stromal invasion with at or more than 2 centimeter tumor size, or positive CLS with superficial 1/3 of stromal invasion with at or more than 5 centimeter tumor size. And when there is no CLS, they consider the deep or middle 1/3 of the stromal invasion with a tumor size at or more than 4 centimeter. So the exclusion criteria was any abnormal blood counts, abnormal liver and kidney function, genitourinary tract abnormality, intercurrent disease, and other conditions that might not permit completion of the study or the required follow-up. Now the randomization. Initially, 299 patients were selected after radical hysterectomy and pelvic lymphadenectomy. Among them, 22 patients were excluded because of lack of documentation of risk factors, wrong stage, inadequate surgery. So finally, 277 patients were randomized. Among them, 137 patients were allocated in the radiotherapy group and 140 were in the no treatment group. For surgery, there were several criteria set in this study, and for the radical hysterectomy, it was removal of the uterus, contiguous parametrial tissue to its most lateral extent, paravaginal tissue, and upper quarter of the vagina with removal of proximal of uterosacral ligament. And for the justification of pelvic lymphadenectomy, and vein, and from the obturator fossa entry to the obturator nerve. In case of radiotherapy group, the adjuvant radiotherapy was started within 4 to 6 weeks postoperatively. Patients were only received external radiation therapy, and it was given by four-field technique with a megavoltage beam, and the radiation dose was from 46 gray in 23 fractions to 50.4 gray in 28 fractions, and 5 fractions per week, with daily fraction of 1.80 to 2 gray. And if there was any treatment break for clinical problems such as vomiting, diarrhea, that were not allowed more than 1 week. For the first 2 years, 3 monthly patients were evaluated, and during this period, they were evaluated by physical examination, blood counts, blood chemistry, and chest X-ray. And then eventually, it was 6 monthly for the subsequent years. And during this period, several additional investigation was done, and initially 6 monthly and then yearly. Those were intravenous pyelogram, renal sonogram, and computed tomography scan. For this study, quality is strictly controlled from the beginning in all aspects such as pathology, radiotherapy, and surgery. All histology slides were reviewed by 2 pathologists of the GOG Pathology Committee, and if there was any disagreement among the reviewing pathologists, that was resolved by a GOG referee pathologist, and the radiotherapy committee examined therapy forms, diagram of irradiated fields, dosimetry curve, and the portal field for each external field radiation. And the review of operative report was conducted to evaluate the completeness of surgical procedure. Now, some operational definition. At first, the recurrence-free interval. It was the time for study entry to physical or radiographic evidence of disease recurrence or date the patient was last seen. Survival. It was the time from date of study entry to death or date the patient was last seen. Site of the recurrence divided into 2 parts, local and distant. It was called local if detected in the pelvis or vagina, and distant if detected in the extrapelvic locations. Tumor diameter was estimated by palpation, and depth of the stromal tumor with a millimeter ruler, and presence or absence of capillary lymphatic space was determined by institutional pathologist. So the primary outcomes of the study were recurrence-free interval and recurrences, and secondary outcomes were survival and complications. The study was designed to detect a 55% decrease in recurrence rate, which allowed the goal to detect a 47% reduction in the risk in complete compliance and 50% reduction in 8% of non-compliance patients among radiotherapy regimen. All design has 80% statistical power to perform one-tail test at the level of p-value 0.05. Type table were completed using the method of Kaplan and Mayer. The Cox model was used to accomplish the difference between treatment regimen while adjusting prognostic factors. Imbalance between patient and disease characteristics and treatment regimen was accomplished using the Pearson chi-square test, and where the characteristics were continuous, such as age, the Kruskal-Wallis test was used. The long rank test was used to evaluate the difference in recurrence-free interval and survival by treatment regimen. Now the results. If we look for the patient characteristics, the squamous cell was the most frequent cell type. Patients were 30 to 80 years of age. Most of them has GOG performance grade 0, and most of them were white. And these factors are well matched between the two groups, but there is some disparity in case of maximum tumor diameter. We can see the patient with the laser at 2 centimeter diameter tumor was more in the no further therapy group, which was 20.6%, and it was half of the patient distributed in the radiotherapy group with a tumor diameter 3.1 to 4 centimeter. The percentage was 45.1%. And patients were distributed with several combination of the risk factor, and the distribution in the two groups were more or less equal. And we can see the most common distribution was positive CLS with deep 1/3 of the stromal invasion with any of the tumor size. Now the recurrence-free interval. From this graph, we clearly see that the recurrence-free interval is more in radiation therapy arm than no treatment arm, with a p-value 0.00a. And 24 months, the recurrence-free rate in case of radiotherapy arm was 88%, and in case of no further therapy arm, it was 79%. If you look for the recurrences, we can see the total recurrences, including the local and distant, both were more in case of no further therapy group. The total recurrence rate was in case of no further therapy group near about 28%, which was double, almost double than the local recurrence occurred in the radiation therapy group, which was 15.3%. Regarding the local recurrence, it was 19.3% in case of no further therapy group and 13.1% in case of radiation therapy group. And we can also see that the isolated vaginal failure in case of radiation therapy group was 2, and in case of no further therapy group, it was 8. And regarding the distal metastasis, it was 7.1% in case of no further therapy group and 2.2% in case of radiation therapy group. And then we can see the most frequent place was pelvis for recurrences. The reduction of risk in patients received adjuvant radiotherapy was 47% at a relative risk 0.53, and 78% recurrences were local, either in the vagina or pelvis. According to this report, 48 patients were died. The median follow-up was 5 years for those who were alive with no evidence of disease. The relative mortality rate was 0.64, which indicates 36% less mortality in the radiation group. And a significance level was not provided because the survival data were not mature. From this table, we can see that the more death occur in the no further therapy group, and it was 21.4% versus 13.1% in case of radiation therapy group. And among the total death in the no further therapy group, most of the death occurred due to the disease, and number was 25, which was in the radiation therapy group 15. And in radiation therapy group, death due to the treatment was only 1. Here we can see the grade 3-4 complications were more in case of radiation therapy group, and Among the complication, there was hematological 3, gastrointestinal 3, genitourinary 4, and neurological 1, so total was 11. And in case of no further therapy group, the hematological complication was 1 and genitourinary complication was 2, that was total 3. So in case of radiotherapy group, the complication was more, and the most common complication in both group was genitourinary complication. Now the discussion. Both large tumor diameter and deep stromal invasion affect cancer progression and its metastatic spread. Chang et al. Also reported that cervical cancer larger than 4 cm in diameter was associated with 5-fold increase in pelvic lymph node metastasis, 10-fold increase in recurrences, and 50% decrease in survival. Deep tumor invasion was most objective and accurate method and also showed association with lymph node metastasis, recurrence, and poor survival. Tumor diameter by palpation was more subjective, and it was most significant risk factors in the Cox model analysis of this study results, and it was critical for local control. There are different opinions regarding the unfavorable prognosis of the invasion of lymphovascular space. It was also subjective and significant inter-observer variability was reported. Boyce et al. Emphasized that a combination of risk factors correlated better with the survival than one factor alone. Present study also concluded that the combination of factors proved more accurate than any of the factors alone. The present study shows that adjuvant radiotherapy significantly reduced the number of cancer recurrences in women with the above risk factors by 44%. Difference in recurrences between irradiated and non-irradiated patients was statistically significant with the level of 0.01. And it causes significantly fewer recurrences in case of irradiated group, both local and distant. The major life-threatening complications were 4% and in the women who received radiation therapy. The study also reported that the conceivable that it was higher pelvic, if there was higher pelvic radiation doses, it would further reduces the pelvic local failure rate, but addition of the valve brachytherapy is unlikely to improve the results since there were only 2 isolated valve failures occurred. So the conclusion was adjunctive radiotherapy is beneficial for stage 1B cervical cancer after radical hysterectomy and pelvic lymphadenectomy in patients with above clinicopathological risk factors. It also significantly reduced the cancer recurrences in this group of patients, and no morbidity is associated in the single modality of treatment. Now, regarding the strength of the study was well designed. Both groups were well balanced, which was ensured during randomization, and the study was designed with strict quality control from the very beginning in every aspect, including the pathology, radiotherapy, and surgery. For pathology and radiotherapy, it was ensured by GOG Pathologist and Radiotherapy Committee, and quality of the completion of the surgical procedure also ensured by reviewing the operative reports. Regarding the weakness of the study, the distribution of the individual risk factors between the treatment regimen was somewhat imbalanced. Larger number of patients with positive CLS were present in the no further treatment regimen, that was 35 versus 24%, and more patients with 4 cm diameter were present in the radiation therapy regimen, that was 60% versus 54%, and patients were less compliant to adjuvant radiotherapy. The tumor diameter was estimated by palpation, so possibility of inter-observer variability was more. The combination of the risk factors, that is large tumor diameter, deep stromal invasion, and capillary lymphatic space involvement, which was investigated in this study, now known as SEDLIS criteria. And the NCCN guideline recommended adjuvant pelvic radiotherapy in early stage cervical cancer after radical hysterectomy and pelvic lymphadenectomy based on this criteria. Thank you for patient hearing. Hello.
50 টাকা নামাই আসি রোগীর লাইন লাগবে।
কি হলো কামাল? শুনতে
Sir.
পাচ্ছ? কি হলো?
Rahana, so I think so now the floor can be open to ask question to the presenter. Shahana,
জি
question সবাইকে এটার উপরে question করতে দাও, then we proceed.
বলেন।
মুবিনাকে
Yes.
question করো, যাদের যা question আছে
কোশ্চেন বলে
participate.
দিছি তো সবাইকে কোশ্চেন চ্যাট বক্সে দেওয়ার জন্য। তাদের যা কোশ্চেন আছে শুরুতে বলে দিয়েছি, তাদের কোশ্চেন গুলি চ্যাট বক্সে দেওয়ার জন্য।
Chat box এ তো কোনো question নাই।
নাই, হ্যাঁ।
স্যার আমি কি শুরু করতে পারি? আমি ডক্টর তাপস।
Please, Taposh.
হ্যাঁ, thank you very much, Dr. Movina, for your very nice presentation. It was a splendid presentation, maybe. My first request to organizer that you may send us what is the journal topic, what is the paper. Then we can read the paper before and can accustomed with it. My question to Movina is that you have said that it is a randomized control trial, but in your paper you
Yeah.
have not described how randomization was done. Can you tell me how randomization was done?
Actually, the paper described that randomization was as the selected patient were assigned randomizedly in two arms. That is a radiation arm and no further treatment arm after radical hysterectomy and pelvic lymphadenectomy. And I have shown the slide where randomization, the process of randomization.
No, there is
And it was the slide.
some basic type. Then there is some block randomization or computer based randomization. There is some types of randomization. After that,
I understand.
we can say that it is a randomized control trial. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I understand your point, but according to the paper, they actually did not clarify
Okay.
it that it was a computer-based or they do it by block or anything, something like that.
Okay, okay.
It was not clearly described here.
Described here. Okay. There is another thing. I suggest that it can it be a cohort study, but as after diagnosis of these disease, we have presented, we have described these patients after the death of the patients. You have in your one slide, you have said that there is this much people are alive, this much people dead.
Yeah.
Can we say that it is a cohort type of study?
I can
Mike duration.
agree with you. But I can agree with you. But this trial actually fulfill all the criteria of randomized control trials, such as it was a prospective trial and it was an experimental trial. There was some intervention on, and we know that
Yes.
cohort is an analytic study, and this is an experimental study. And here some intervention was done. That was the postoperative adjuvant radiotherapy, and the control group was the no treatment group. And it is it is a prospective so randomization, prospectation, all criteria included this trial. So I think it is RCT.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you that you have correctly said that RCT this trial fulfill all the criteria of RCT. But one question only, they doesn't they do not describe it properly how randomization was done.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
also it may be also I think it may be also cohort study.
How could cohort is
Let
an
me help
analytic
you
study?
here.
It is not a, yeah. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
So, Taposh,
Yeah.
to answer you, that in our paper, sometimes they don't give the total description that how the randomization is done. Sometimes they make some
Yeah.
supplementary material. But in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
paper, it is not mentioned. But we need to accept their statement that they have done a randomization, whatever method they have mentioned, as you mentioned, it could be a lottery, it could be a random table, it could be a computerized base, whatever it is. So, I mean, this is the, when the journal is presented, Mobina is basing on the information that she has in hand. And in this paper, when we have gone through details, it was not mentioned the details of the randomization.
How the randomization was done, it was nowhere in the paper, it was mentioned anywhere in the book.
Okay.
Sir, and
Yes.
the another and sir, and he has the another point that it could be a cohort. How could this trial would be a cohort study?
No. So there no
Is there
question.
any point?
Yeah, there's no question regarding the cohort study because there is a definite intervention. The radiation was given
Done.
respect to
Yeah, yeah.
observation. So it's an
Yeah, I
observational.
think so.
It is a randomized
It is
control
not a
trial.
analytic study, observational study. It's
There
an
will be
experimental study.
no question about it's a
Yeah.
cohort.
Thank you. Thank you.
So definitely it's a randomized control trial, phase 3 randomized control trial. I
Samir,
have a
can you
question.
please take care? Somebody is making a scratch on the screen. Samir, maybe they don't know that they are doing it.
So who is doing this scratching?
Why this
It's
scratch?
not on my hands.
So I have a question to this presenter.
Yeah, please.
So is there any
Make it louder. Talk louder.
So is there any overall survival difference between these two arms?
It was not described in the paper. And they said that a significance level was not provided because survival data was not mature.
Okay, so the initial endpoint was progression-free survival and recurrence, right?
Yeah.
But as per the second paper that was published in 2006, so this same study was reevaluated and it was prepared by the same group of scientists, and still they didn't find any overall survival. So Kamal bhai, can you give some highlights regarding these issues? Why there is less number of recurrence, less of some disease-free progression, but no difference in overall survival? Why?
On the first paper, the follow-up period was not adequate. The mean follow-up was only for 2 years, they have seen. And the study was not adequately powered to see the overall survival. So they've designed it for only to see the PFS. But on the 2006 paper, what they have shown, that still they are showing the survival is same, but not getting an OS benefit. Yeah. So it was always the PFS they were looking at. And the problem they found that even they increased, initially that sample size was smaller, they made it bigger to achieve the 45% decrease. And to achieve that, they have gone up to this sample size. To see an OS, they need a more bigger sample size and longer follow-up, which was not achieved. So they could not get an OS benefit, even in 2006 follow-up publication.
So, but there is a strong debate because all the parameters are in favor because no less recurrence, less disease-free progression, but they fail to statistical finding difference in overall survival. So there might be something missing, and that is the real point.
The missing is initially they were expecting a 45% recurrence. That was their initial assessment. That 45% reduction of recurrence will be there, and 80% was the power, and that there the challenge was there. And you can see that before there was a GOG survey with this risk factor. They have seen the effect of this risk factor. So before this study, the only risk factor established was lymph node, but this risk factor was not established. So they made a hypothesis and they gone for that. So based on this risk factor with adjuvant treatment, they failed to show a OS benefit. Until today, adjuvant is not giving you OS benefit. It is giving you PFS and preventing local recurrence.
Assalamu alaikum, madam. I have a question. Can I?
Sure.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, you have a question in the chat box. I am seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I? May I start it?
Please identify yourself and then ask the question.
Sir, I am Riyad, sir.
Ask the question.
Okay. Madam, regarding recurrence, no further treatment arm showed 2 patients had unknown recurrence. Like total 39 recurrence, 27 was local, 10 patients had distant metastasis, and lastly showed 2 patients had unknown metastasis, which was not mentioned in the operational definition. And another thing is there any such term like in oncology, like unknown site metastasis, unknown site recurrence? We heard about the unknown primary, but is there any term like unknown site recurrence?
Kamal sir, please.
Will you please repeat the question? I didn't
Okay,
know
sir.
that it will be coming to me.
Okay, sir.
বলতে চাচ্ছে
Regarding
দুইটা patient-
regarding the recurrence, total recurrence was 39 in case of in no further treatment term. Along in and total 27 was local recurrence, 10 was distant recurrence, and 2 patient was showing unknown site recurrence. What does it mean by unknown site recurrence? Is there any term like unknown site recurrence in oncology?
But, okay, no, there is no such term. You know, when we are discussing a journal, we have some limitation.
limitation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Published literature. So it may be that they were reported as recurrence, but the record was not telling that what was the site of recurrence. So
Okay,
that's why they are selling that unknown site recurrence. Because if you see the randomization,
Yes,
when they have first enrolled the patient, they have excluded some of the patient for inadequate information.
yes, sir.
So even in America, 100% information is not always there. So probably these 2 patients has reported recurrence, but it was probably, I am guessing, that it was not mentioned the exact site. So they have said that there is a recurrence, but unknown site recurrence. That could be the explanation. But as you asked, there is no standard terminology of unknown site recurrence in oncology. No.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Madam, I have a question.
Ask your question.
In case of like after radical hysterectomy, sometimes we find some high risk factors like positive pelvic nodes or positive parametrium, cut margin positive. In this study, how the researchers differentiated those type of patients from the study? মানে কিভাবে ওইসব পেশেন্ট গুলোকে এক্সক্লুড করা হলো?
Actually, I couldn't get you. What actually you want to know, I couldn't get you because he clearly said that after radical hysterectomy and pelvic lymphadenectomy, they recruited those patients who have no lymph node metastasis and who have the combination of 3 risk factors. That is the
If these
capillary
patients
leakage.
have those risk factors like lymph node positive, margin positive, parametrium positive, those are excluded from the study at the beginning of the study.
Here,
Yes.
that,
শুধুমাত্র ক্লিনিক্যাল প্যাথোলজিক্যাল
Yeah.
ক্রাইটেরিয়া অফ দ্য সার্ভিক্স শুধু
Cervix.
অতটুকু নেওয়া হয়েছে সার্ভিক্সের মধ্যে যে ক্লিনিক্যাল প্যাথোলজিক্যাল চেঞ্জ শুধু
Risk
সেটাকে নেওয়া
factor
হয়েছে
হচ্ছে
লিম্ফ নোড এগুলো সব বাদ এগুলো এক্সক্লুশন
it was said that the poor prognostic factor related with the primary tumor. They included the poor prognostic factor that was related to the primary tumor.
which confined to the cervix only. That is 1B.
Yes, the lymph node positive, margin positive, that is also from 1B after radical hysterectomy. Okay.
Farhana, the answer is the inclusion criteria.
From the histopathology report, these are excluded.
Now, Farhana, to answer your question, if you look at the inclusion and exclusion criteria, you can see that clearly they have excluded this group of patients having positive nodes or having positive margin. They have only taken those patients who are justifying this criteria. Other they have excluded. They have mentioned clearly about the lymph nodes. You can see that.
Okay, sir.
No node positive taken.
I want to ask a question. How many deaths occurred during this period?
They said that 48, according to the report, 48 patients were died. But there was another statement that until the final analysis of the survival hours, further follow-up until 60 days occurred. So they wanted to say that they reported the final analysis after 60 days.
Yep. That was published in 2006 paper because after the 60 number, they have done the, Shuman was telling that publication was done after adequate follow-up, and there it was average, mean was 8 point something years. So it was around 10 years follow-up. There they have seen the 60 death and then they have reported. So Shahana.
Yes.
If
there is no more question, then we can conclude. Yeah, if there is no more question, yeah, then we can conclude it here. And now it is the quiz session.
No, just a minute.
Yeah.
To wrap up the paper, let me say a few words because this is the this would be the culture. That once the journal club is finished, we need to sum up. The sum up is that what we learned from this journal paper. This is a if you look at the selection criteria, they have done the selection criteria of these risk factors on which there was a previous survey, GOG survey, but there was no data. So they have taken these 3 risk factors and used the combination of any 2 and wanted to look whether there is any impact of adjuvant treatment with this. And finally, till today, even it is an old paper, till 2020, this CEDIS criteria is still existing as the guideline for adjuvant radiotherapy. Another important point, you can look into the paper that they didn't allow any adjuvant treatment after 6 weeks. So 4 to 6 weeks after surgery was the standard time. So that is a message that whenever we are doing a surgery or when we are planning a radiation therapy, we should be doing it within 6 weeks time. Another is in this paper, they have never used brachytherapy. They have used only radiotherapy.
Yes.
So
yes,
in this type of situation, there is no role of brachytherapy. If it is a cut margin positive, there is a different scenario, then it is not radiotherapy, it should be chemoradiotherapy. So only radiotherapy is indicated on this type of risk factor group. Hi AK, welcome to the journal club. So regarding the treatment break, we didn't allow more than 1 week time. So that is another message to get the optimum result of the adjuvant treatment. We should not allow any treatment break more than 1 week's time. The very beautiful part of the study is even a very old study. They have done a strict quality control of the pathology and the radiotherapy. They have done at least 2 pathologists review, and in this disagreement, they have used the 3rd pathologist. And for radiotherapy, every single patient's radiotherapy portal and the field and dose was evaluated by a central committee. So that is a very beautiful part and a strength of the study. And you can see that toxicity, even with this old method of cobalt, there was not much grade 3-4 toxicities, which was within acceptable limit. So we can think that today in the era of this modern radiotherapy with modern techniques, we can achieve better outcome and less toxicity, but with the same principle. So this is the message that, again, cervical cancer, we should try for single modality. Unfortunately, if there is a risk factor, we can get some benefit of local control, and also we can get some benefit of PFS, but till now with adjuvant treatment, there is no benefit of OS. Now, may I request AK to make some comments on this GOG 92 journal that we discussed today.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's better maybe I just listen today. I'm in the middle of a surgery combined with colorectal and urology and they are doing their part, and then I will go back into surgery. But I just wanted to say hello.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed the case that you're talking about.
So we discussed the GOG 92. Now I think we will go to the next session. Thanks for even joining, and you are looking great.
One question to you, AK. সে চলে গেছে?
না আছে, বাট আমার মনে হয় ওনাকে ছেড়ে দেন।
Okay, just a minute. AK?
Yes.
Yes. Which day? I think Tuesday is your surgery day. So I think which day you are free in this time?
Actually, this is the best day for me. Every other day is completely booked. It was just every now and then I have surgery, but most of the days this is a good day. I'm sorry.
Every day surgery.
Yeah, today is the best day. I'm so sorry, but today I had this combined surgery with colorectal and urology. But normally around this time, it's very good for me. I'm so sorry, but let me listen in and then I have to go back. Yeah.
If you want, then we can change the day, either any other day of the week. No,
this is the best day. Yeah.
This is the good day. Yeah. Okay. Then we can continue.
Aman mone hoy, if we are done with this paper, we can move. But finally, I want to make a comment that this initiative is doing a great job. Today, Shahana, you have discovered a wonderful presenter. One of the best presenter I've ever heard, this Dr. Mubina. She speaks such a good English. It was such a fluent presentation. Congratulations, Mubina. It was really wonderful presentation. It was very impressive. Very good presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Ruqayya Anwar, Appa, she chose her. I didn't. I have given her freedom that you please select someone from your view, and she selected her. I think I like to thank Dr. Ruqayya Anwar Appa. She selected Dr. Mubina for this, and say thanks go to Dr. Ruqayya Anwar Appa. Thank you, Appa. Thank you very much. এখন আমরা তাহলে কুইজে চলে যাই। কুইজ
শাহানা।
Yes, জি থ্যাংক ইউ আপা, কারণ আপনি ওকে সিলেক্ট করেছেন এবং আসলে সে অনেক সুন্দর বলেছে, এটা খুব ভালো হয়েছে আপনার নিজের সিলেকশন। আমরা খুবই এই জন্য আমরা খুশি এবং আমরা কৃতজ্ঞ। থ্যাংক ইউ আপা, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। তাহলে আমরা এখন কুইজে চলে যাই।
Quiz link is given now.
Quiz link is given.
Yes, quiz link is given, yeah. কুইজে কিন্তু প্রাইজ আছে, প্রাইজ হাইয়েস্ট নাম্বার যে পাবে তাকে প্রাইজ দেওয়া হবে। গত সেশনে কিন্তু একজন প্রাইজ পেয়েছে।
সেটা দেওয়া হয় না এখনো?
দেওয়া হয়েছে।
হ্যাঁ
দেওয়া হয়েছে, পণ্ডিত। এটা সুমন দিবে, সুমন।
আচ্ছা দিব।
হ্যাঁ কামাল ভাই, is there any Kamal bhai, is there any pathologist in this session?
I am Dr. Mostafa Aziz Shuman, Head of Department of Pathology, Kurmitul Hospital.
Okay, so I think in practical situation, one of the risk factor we always be this is the stromal invasion in our pathology report. So with this platform, I would like to just request our pathology colleagues, and they should write the stromal invasion in each and every report. They write the tumor size and lymphovascular invasion, but most of the report we miss the information about the stromal invasion, so that we have to give radiation in the benefit of doubt for most of the patient.
Sorry,
pathologist to review the slide and give a report again.
No, sorry, Kamal bhai.
Yes, thank you, Abba.
Kamal bhai.
Bye.
Thank you,
pathologist
yes.
is there. Okay.
Pathology.
বলো কি বলতে চাচ্ছ? হ্যাঁ, what is she meaning about stromal invasion in cervical carcinoma? Really,
yes, so
stromal invasion, this information is missing most of the cases.
Stromal cell carcinoma, of course it is stromal invasion. Stromal invasion though, cervical carcinoma.
No, madam, this is not right. This is not right. The report should be
invasion medial one, lima.
Medial 1/3, deep 1/3.
Medial 1/3, middle 1/3, অথবা more than 2/3, অথবা lateral 1/3, এগুলি কিন্তু
না
অনেক
সেটা তো
থাকে
ডিসটেন্স বাকি,
এবং
সেটা তো স্ট্রমাল ইনভেশন না, সেটা তো আমাকে টিউমার সাইজ বা আমার মার্জিন থেকে কতখানি দূরে সেগুলি বলতে হবে, সেটা তো স্ট্রমাল ইনভেশন না।
Deep stromal invasion is
deep
different.
stromal
than
invasion
level.
বলেই
Yeah.
লেখা থাকে কিন্তু deep stromal invasion
It
medial
can
1/3
be
middle
one
third
medial 1/3. Yeah, it can be mid 1/3, deep
এগুলি লেখা
1/3.
থাকে, এগুলি লেখা থাকে অনেক
But from
রিপোর্টে লেখা
outside
থাকে।
report, most of the report we don't find this information. But from NICRH report now, they are writing this information. Stromal infection.
সব কথা ঠিক
But
না শাহিদা, সব
not in
জায়গায়
English,
অ্যান্সার না, না এটা ইন জেনারেল না, অনেক জায়গায় লেখা থাকে, এটা ইন জেনারেল বলাটা
But
না
we are
বললে
getting the report in the tumor board. Most of the time, we don't have this information of a stromal infection.
So, Shahana, I think you can move to your next session. By this time, result will come up.
Yes. Thank you all. You are still being with us, everybody. And next, we shall go to our next session. Our next session is debate session. Today, we have two debaters. One is Dr. Lutfa. She is Dhaka Medical Assistant Professor in Obstetric and Gynecology, Dhaka Medical College Hospital. Another is Dr. Gopa Kundush. She is the FCPS Gynae Oncology student in Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University. So I request that in favor Dr. Lutfa Begum Lipi, she will speak and her talk will be on behalf of this. The topic of this debate is the lymphadenectomy is a justified modality for the management of advanced ovarian cancer. And Dr. Lutfa Begum Lipi, she will talk on the will be on the for of this paper. And Dr. Gopa Kundu, she will against the paper. Dr. Lutfa Begum Lipi, you please go through your paper. From first year. Lutfa, প্রথমটা থেকে শুরু করেন, প্রথম স্লাইড থেকে।
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Honorable Chairperson, respected teachers and learning audience, and our Chief Faculty, Dr. Professor Annie Catherine Goodman, Assalamu alaikum and very good evening. The topic of the debate is lymphadenectomy is a justified modality for the management of advanced ovarian cancer. I am Dr. Lutfa Begum Lipi, Assistant Professor, Dhaka Medical College, going to make my presentation in favor of this topic. The goal of the surgery in advanced ovarian cancer is to removal of all visible diseases with all lymph nodes, which includes bilateral pelvic nodes and the para-aortic region. Removal of the all microscopically and macroscopically involved nodes has a therapeutic benefit on survival. It still now is a debatable question. So there are some debatable issues on which we should think about, like progression-free survival, overall survival, complications related to surgery, and the recurrence. In NCCN Guidelines version 1 2020, there is clearly stated that for superior survival outcomes, every effort should be made during the primary cytoreduction to achieve optimum cytoreduction of all abdominal, pelvic, and retroperitoneal diseases. This study paper was published in 1996 in Gynecological Cancer, which concluded with the 5-year survival rate was prognostically significant in lymphadenectomy group, both in optimally cytoreduction surgery and the suboptimal cytoreduction surgery. This journal is on the National Cancer Institute, published in 2005. This is a randomized control trial by Penisi in the journal. In this journal concluded that progression-free survival is significantly higher in lymphadenectomy group, even though overall survival is not significant, and regarding the recurrence, it is lower in the lymphadenectomy group than the other group. These two papers also provide evidences of superior survival benefit of lymphadenectomy on advanced ovarian cancer. This is the most recent publication, published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine, July 2020. It was a retrospective multicenter cohort study between the 2000 and 2017, which have shown that systemic lymphadenectomy group had significantly higher progression-free survival when compared to those who had not received the systemic lymphadenectomy. My dear opponent, you may try to convince me with this paper, which is published in New England Journal of Medicine, a randomized trial of lymphadenectomy in patients with advanced ovarian neoplasm. It is known as LION trial, which concluded with the statement that systemic lymphadenectomy in advanced ovarian cancer patients provide no survival benefit. And they also enlisted a list of complications here, which are not directly related to lymphadenectomy. But there are some limitations on LION trial, and we can criticize with this that in this trial, the bulky nodes are not included, and after NSCT, that is mean new adjuvant chemotherapy group, are not included in this trial. We as know that lymph nodes are the reservoir of metastasis, and there are sometimes chemo-resistant also, and without removal of all macroscopic lymph nodes, cytoreduction is not achieved. So a large portion of the patients are excluded in this trial. So impact on the survival of the lymphadenectomy is not reflected in this study. And also the complications which are not directly related to lymphadenectomy, if we go through the paper, then we can find out that the maximum are caused by the re-laparotomy, and which is caused by part leakage. My dear opponent, we are now in 2020, and Bangladesh is converting from a developing country to a least developed country, and our patients are receiving the global management of gynae cancer. Our poor facilities are also treating the oncology patients. So we are much more confident enough to manage such cases with our skilled manpower, modernized infrastructure, and the proper management of the complications. So, my dear friend, there is no room for debate. With all these evidences, you may agree with me that for survival benefit in advanced ovarian cancer, lymphadenectomy is a justifiable treatment modality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lutfat, for your nice presentation. Now I request Dr. Gopakundu to present her paper. Dr. Gopakundu.
slideshow দাও
Slide share then, slide share. নিচে 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 ওই কাপের মতো এটা slide share. Yes. Thank you.
ভিডিও দাও না Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Can I start now?
Yes.
Respected chairperson, honorable teachers, my senior and junior colleagues, assalamu alaikum and welcome to today's debate session. The topic is lymphadenectomy is a justified modality in the management of advanced ovarian cancer. From the last 2 decades, there are lots of controversy regarding systematic pelvic and para-aortic lymphadenectomy in the management of advanced ovarian cancer. Me, Dr. Gopa Kundu, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University, is going to start my presentation against the topic. Hey, Babu.
Slide down.
What happened? Gopa, continue. You are not audible now.
Gopa?
Unmute karo, unmute karo.
গোপা মিউট হয়ে আছেন গোপা
ইয়ে হচ্ছে না কেন হ্যাঁ পরের স্লাইড যাচ্ছে না কেন
এখন শোনা যাচ্ছে তো শোনা যাচ্ছে
স্ক্রিনের নিচে একটা অ্যারো আছে ওই অ্যারোতে ক্লিক করলেই চলে যাবে জাস্ট নিচে এই
সরি স্যার
ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে
My dear colleague, you are in favor of lymphadenectomy in advanced ovarian cancer as a part of complete debulking surgery to improve overall survival and progression-free survival. But what actually happens? Let's go through some evidence-based studies. I want to start my presentation with a landmark trial, lymphadenectomy in patients with advanced ovarian neoplasm. The well-known LION trial published on the New England Journal of Medicine. It was a multicentric phase 3 randomized control trial. Patients of advanced ovarian cancer are randomized into lymphadenectomy group and non-lymphadenectomy group. Primary endpoint of this study is overall survival, which is 65.5 months in lymphadenectomy group and 69.2 months in non-lymphadenectomy group, which is not significant. And progression-free survival is 25.5 months in both arms, which is also not significant. So there is no improved overall survival or progression-free survival in lymphadenectomy group. Now, if we look at the surgical complications, we can see that increased rate of infection, lymphocyst formation, repeat laparotomies, and death within 60 days are significantly higher in lymphadenectomy group. LION PAW study, it's a prospective sub-study of LION study published on Journal of Clinical Oncology. It is a sexual function assessment study. Women who underwent complete retroperitoneal lymphadenectomy experienced dyspareunia, which was worsened at 12 months, and orgasm demonstrated worse. The study was published on the Lancet Oncology Journal. Here, patients were randomized into systematic lymphadenectomy versus observation. The study showed patients with advanced ovarian carcinoma and no suspicious bulky nodes undergoing complete macroscopic resection of tumor do not get any benefit from systematic pelvic and para-aortic lymphadenectomy, but experience a significant higher rate of intraoperative and postoperative complications. According to National Comprehensive Cancer Network, overall survival is increased after systematic lymphadenectomy who have had completed debulking surgery, which is very extensive surgery. In some situations of advanced ovarian carcinoma, we have to go for neoadjuvant chemotherapy followed by interval debulking surgery. This is a double institution case control study published on gynecological oncology, showed no survival benefit in interval debulking surgery. Rather, lymphadenectomy after chemotherapy is more difficult due to plastic reaction of retroperitoneum. My colleague has said there is advancement in surgical procedures and trained manpower. With you, there is scarcity of specialized gynae-oncology unit in our country, lack of adequate number of trained gynae-oncologists, anesthetists, lack of high-quality post-operative care support, that is ICU, and high dependency unit. And in advanced ovarian carcinoma, there is extensive intraperitoneal disease burden, peritoneal carcinomatosis and omental cake, which are really very much challenging. A different study showed that systematic lymphadenectomy, even in experienced hands, carries significant morbidity due to injury to major blood vessels, ureter, gut, which causes increased operative time, increased blood loss, increased blood transfusion, prolonged hospital stay, even death. Why my opponent does not see the drawbacks of lymphadenectomy? Last but not the least, I want to add some points against lymphadenectomy. In case of mucinous and endometrioid carcinoma, endometrioid type of epithelial carcinoma, rate of lymph node involvement is only 2%. Main site of relapse in case of ovarian carcinoma is intraperitoneal and not in the lymph node. If retroperitoneal lymph node relapse occurs, it is only 2.5%. My colleague has said retroperitoneal lymph node remains chemoresistant and there are micrometastases in pelvic and parotid lymph nodes. In this point, I want to say that we are blessed with very effective modern single and multi-agent platinum-based chemotherapy, which we can use as neoadjuvant, adjuvant, and salvage chemotherapy. I think I have given sufficient supporting evidence to my colleague against lymphadenectomy in advanced ovarian cancer, that lymphadenectomy has no survival benefit in terms of overall survival or progression-free survival, rather may bring severe catastrophe. I think my opponent will now completely agree with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Gopa Kundu. Is there any comment? Sir, কিছু বলবেন ওদের সম্বন্ধে? Sir, hi sir. Sir? কামাল ভাই?
Hi sir, আছে তো?
Sir? Sir?
Hi sir, কি নাই? Connected?
Sir, কিছু দেখতে পাচ্ছি না।
So, both of the speaker made a very both of the speaker made very nice presentation. I mean, if somebody asked me to score, I think both of them will get 100 out of 100, and they have brought out nice evidences. But the most important thing is that this platform is a platform where we are trying to learn from each other. Yes. Because in our country perspective, there is no formal teaching for this type of thing. One fine morning, somebody get a chance to make a journal presentation or make a debate, but there is no formal training. So this is a friendly environment where we can practice, we can enrich ourselves, and we can get input from others. So by this way, gradually we'll improve. I think this is like resource hunting or head hunting platform, because you are discovering such a wonderful presenter who are hiding in your community, you didn't knew it. So congratulations to both the presenter. It was really great. And I think in future, they will be more sharp and more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal Bhai. Thank you very much for appreciating the junior doctors. We think we'll discover more and more doctors and more our oncologist or gynecologist in this subject, that they can do the better in future.
No, identify all the oncologists because it is not gynae oncology, it is gynecological malignancy.
Yes,
So,
yes, oncologist. All the
oncologist
yeah.
there.
Sorry, all the oncologists. Yeah, there is the pathologist. There are also the pathological oncologist. There is the gynae oncologist, the radiation oncologist, medical oncologist. Everybody is here. So I appreciate all for giving us time and they participate in our presentation. Thank you very much.
Shanapa,
Yes.
Shanapa, what is the expert opinion regarding the lymphadenectomy in advanced ovarian cancer? As I'm not surgeon, and I am impressed by both of the presenter, and I'm more confused. So I want to know the expert opinion from you.
না এটা লাস্ট এরপরে তো এরপরে লায়ন্স ট্রায়ালের পরে আরো অনেক ট্রায়াল বের হয়েছে সেখানে সব জায়গায় একই কথা বলছে যে অ্যাডভান্সড ওভারিয়ান ম্যালিগন্যান্সি লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি করি আমরা কিন্তু আমরা তো জানি না যে কতটুকু আমরা মাইক্রোস্কোপিক ডিজিজ তো আমরা ফেলতে পারি না সুতরাং আমরা বরং লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি করে আমাদের সার্জারির ডিউরেশন বেড়ে যায় পেশেন্টের মরবিডিটি বেড়ে যায় এতে পেশেন্টের কমপ্লিকেশন বেশি হয় কিন্তু আমরা তো শুধু যেগুলি বাল্কি নোট আমরা সেগুলি ফেলি অথবা আমরা লিম্ফ নোটগুলি ফেলি কিন্তু মাইক্রোস্কোপিক যেসব ডিজিজ আছে সেগুলি ফেলতে পারি না তো সেক্ষেত্রে দেখা যায় যে তাদের ডিজিজ ফ্রি সার্ভাইভাল ওরকমের বেশি হয় না কারণ পরে সম্ভবত পাওলা ট্রায়ালে এইটা এসছে লাস্ট যতটুকু আমি জানি যে আমি কামাল ভাই হয়তো আরো ভালো বলতে পারবেন
এখানে কোনো কি মেটা অ্যানালাইসিস হয় নাই মেটা অ্যানালাইসিস এই এর উপর লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমির উপর
কোনটাকে প্রেফার করছেন অ্যাজ এ এক্সপার্ট
সো অ্যাডভান্স ওভারিয়ান ম্যালিগন্যান্সি গ্রস কোনো লিম্ফ নোড যদি থাকে এইটা ছাড়া এজ এ হোল রুটিন লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমির আমরা মানে ইউজুয়ালি আমরা করি না গ্রস
I just wanted to know this. Yeah. Thank you.
Actually, I want to say something regarding this presentation. These are the excellent presentation by Rupa Kundu and Esther Professor Lutfa Lipi. But I like to add that though we have not still up to not the unit full of specialized anesthesiologists plus ICU and HDU, but we have to in future. So we have to work for it and we raise our voice in future to make a good coordination unit with all department because the management of gynecological malignancy should be by multidisciplinary. So just not with skilled surgeon, we need skilled manpower in anesthesiology department and we have it in our institute, but the problem is ICU and HDU. Because of the lack of monitoring in post-operative period, sometimes we need to curtail our full activities in advanced ovarian cancer. So if we have all facility, we will go much forward. I think it will be. But in those institutes where gynecology is developing, we should work together and we should follow a standard protocol. Still, we don't have any protocol, but we can follow South Asian region protocol like protocol from Tata Memorial Hospital. So our treatment will be unified. And day by day, we need to develop skillness and input from outcome of our disease, our patient, their disease-free, progression-free survival. So if we don't do any study, we will not progress. And most important thing is cancer registry. The data from all Dhaka Medical College, BSMMU and NICRH, still we are not doing any unified data registry system. So it is very important to enter a common data entry into the computer-based or software-based entry. It will give us good outcome and we could measure ourselves how we are doing our surgery and how our outcome of our patient going on. So I think we should coordinate ourselves with different institutions of our country at first, then it will be very easier to develop ourselves and our student, our trainee also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now কামাল ভাই আসসালামু আলাইকুম জোনাকি বলছিলাম
ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম
হ্যাঁ আমি একটু জাস্ট এক মিনিট একটা ইনপুট দিতে চাই লায়ন ট্রায়াল সম্পর্কে বলবো
প্লিজ গো অ্যাহেড
আচ্ছা এখানে লিমা যে কোশ্চেনটা করেছে লায়ন ট্রায়াল আসলে এটা খুবই ভালো একটা ট্রায়াল। এটা প্রসপেক্টিভ, র্যান্ডমাইজড, মাল্টিসেন্ট্রিক এবং সম্ভবত 4 কি 5 বছর, আমার অ্যাকচুয়ালি মনে নাই, লম্বা একটা ট্রায়াল এটা। এবং যেটা ইনক্লুড করেছে অ্যারাউন্ড 650 অ্যাডভান্স স্টেজ ওভারিয়ান ক্যান্সার। কিন্তু এই ট্রায়ালের কিন্তু লিমিটেশন আছে, যেটা লুৎফা লিপি খুব সুন্দর করে বলেছে। লিমিটেশনটা হচ্ছে এটা যে এখানে অ্যাডভান্স স্টেজ মানে স্টেজ 2B থেকে 4 এই পেশেন্টগুলোকে নেওয়া হয়েছে যাদের নাকি নো অবভিয়াস নোডাল ডিজিজ ছিল না। তো এটা একটা আরেকটা সম্ভবত এনএসিটি গ্রুপকেও এক্সক্লুড করা হয়েছে। তো এটাই হচ্ছে লিমিটেশন। এবং যেহেতু 2টা গ্রুপ এখানে বাদ পড়ে গেছে, যে যাদের কোনো অবভিয়াস নোডাল ডিজিজ নেই, তাদের ক্ষেত্রে দেখা যায় যে হ্যাঁ 2 গ্রুপেই নো লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি গ্রুপ অ্যান্ড লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি গ্রুপ 2টা গ্রুপেই প্রোগ্রেশন ফ্রি সার্ভাইভাল, ওভারঅল সার্ভাইভাল সিমিলার দেখিয়েছে। এবং বরং লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি গ্রুপে কিছু ডিসঅ্যাডভান্টেজ, কমপ্লিকেশন বেশি হয়, এগুলো দেখিয়েছে। কিন্তু এখানে একটা কথা আছে যে যদি সাইটোরিডাকটিভ সার্জারি সাব অপটিমাল হয় অ্যাডভান্স স্টেজ ওভারিয়ান ক্যান্সারের ক্ষেত্রে, তাহলে আমাদের মনে রাখতে হবে দেন নো বেনিফিট ফ্রম লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি। মানে আমি সাইটোরিডাকটিভ সার্জারি করে আসলাম কিন্তু দেখা গেল যে কিছু রয়ে গেছে সাব অপটিমাল, সেই ক্ষেত্রে লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি করলাম, কোনো লাভ হবে না। কাজেই ইফ সাইটোরিডাকটিভ সার্জারি সাব অপটিমাল দেন নো বেনিফিট অফ lymphadenectomy. But if optimal cytoreductive surgery is possible and no disease in the abdomen, upper abdomen or in the pelvis, and there is enlarged lymph node, it should be removed. Then lymphadenectomy should be performed, even if advanced stage ovarian cancer as a part of debulking surgery. Thank you.
এটা তো বলা হয়েছে অলরেডি, এটাই তো আমি বললাম যে যদি গ্রস লিম্ফ নোড না থাকে, শুধু গ্রস লিম্ফ নোড থাকলে এটা বের করার জন্য, কারণ এরপরে পাওলা ট্রায়াল, প্রাইমা ট্রায়াল সব ট্রায়ালই একই কথা বলছে, যদি গ্রস লিম্ফ নোড না থাকে, না হলে অ্যাডভান্স স্টেজ ডিজিজে কোনো লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমির কোনো রোল নাই, কমপ্লিট লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমি একমাত্র শুধুমাত্র
Paula and Prima is a trial for bevacizumab and olaparib.
সেখানে এটাও আছে, প্রাইমা ট্রায়াল যেটা, সেখানেও এই কথা লেখা আছে। এবং শুধুমাত্র গ্রস লিম্ফ নোডের কথাই বলেছে যে ইট ডাজন্ট মিন যে গ্রস লিম্ফ নোডই শুধু ফেলতে হবে, আদারওয়াইজ কমপ্লিট লিম্ফেডেনেক্টমির কোনো রোল নাই অ্যাডভান্স স্টেজ ওভারিয়ান মেলিগনেন্সি।
Okay, Shahana, আমার মনে হয় what we can conclude here
Yes,
that in
yes.
oncology there
Yes.
is
No hard and
absolute word.
Yeah.
There is no absolute word.
Yeah.
So Lion trial probably, as non-surgeon, what I understood from the comment of Jonaki also, that and also what you said and also reading the paper, that it was a indication that we should not kill ourselves for lymphadenectomy.
Yeah.
The message is total removal.
Yes.
শুধু মানে lymph node নিয়ে আমরা মানে খুব overzealous হওয়ার কিছু নাই. If we can, what Jonaki said, if we can really remove the total thing, then lymphadenectomy create a value. Otherwise, we are so happy that we have done lymphadenectomy, but আমরা কিছু tumor রেখে এসেছি. This is not going to make any benefit. So that was what Jonaki said, that what you said, and that is the message that from this discussion, the Lion trial, first landmark trial, before that there was a belief the removing lymph node in ovarian cancer was we are giving some survival benefit. But they have shown that this is not only lymph node, there are all the things, nothing visible remaining should be the message. So thanks, Ami mone hoy je ar regarding discussion, we should always remember in oncology,
Yes.
there is no absolute word. What is correct today, tomorrow day, it is proved wrong. Why? Because we don't know adequate. Maybe a trial tar ekta longer follow-up, they may come with some additional benefit information. What Lutfa said or Jonaki said, যে NSCT রোলটা আসলে তখন হয়তো অন্যভাবে আসবে। যদি আমরা এখানটায় নোট পজিটিভ থাকতো সেই কেসগুলো কি সো every trial, there is no single trial without any limitation. Every single trial have limitation, but as long as we have the evidence, we need to follow that, and we should justify our practice with the evidence. এটা আমাদের মনে করার কোনো সুযোগ নাই. That is the culture that we want to give the message that whatever we do, we should do with evidence, and we should justify our activities with evidence, scientific evidence. Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you. কারণ এটার পরে রিভিউ যে বের হয়েছে সেখানেও এই একই মেসেজ দিয়েছে। যাই হোক, এখন আমরা নেক্সট সেশনে যাই। আমরা কি কুইজ উইনারের বলবো এখন?
একদম লাস্টে বলবো কুইজ।
ওকে, ওকে। Now it is the session of Dr. Mostofa Aziz Shumon. Dr. Mostofa Aziz Shumon.
Thank you, Appa. Before going to my presentation, may I request Shomi to please present those two questions. I would request to every participant just participate by the question, just to get an assessment regarding our recent knowledge regarding the biostatistics. Just please participate in the quiz. Shomir, can you please pose the two questions? Shomir?
Answer.
Yes, you all are request to answer this question. To determine the maximum tolerated dose of SBRT in liver, SBRT is one kind of investigators reviewed 5-grade dose per escalation. What type of study? It's pilot, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Please answer this question. Everyone, not for the radiation oncologist. Everyone is requested to answer the question. So no vote yet. I request everyone just to get an idea regarding our recent knowledge regarding our discussions. So only 6 out of 76. Please. Only 10 out of 76. So I would wait 10 seconds more, then I will close the session. So I would request every participant to answer by this 10 seconds time. Okay, thank you. So, Shamir? So can you please show the poll? Okay. So the first question, maximum vote came for phase 2 trial, that is 47%, 29%. Okay. And then the question answer the number 2. I am not seeing it properly. Can you show me this number 2 result? Just scroll the screen a bit. Okay.
Sir.
So it is 47%, right? 35%, 10%. Okay. Now please allow me to share my screen. So thank you everybody. Already a number of butterflies are running in my abdomens by hearing all those lion trials, GOG92s. So let's see with some more butterflies. So you can see there are 2 butterflies. Here is one and another one is there. So I am sure you are very familiar with this type of butterflies in your backyards. But the research mind could find something different between these 2. Can you see that the left one has a complete wings, where the right one has a tethered wings? So that is the observation that these 2 butterflies don't have a similar type of wings. So there is a difference between these wings. And I am sure this type of observation would not be observed by all, because getting an observation is something very special and it is not a very easy thing to get an observation. So from this observation, someone can get an idea that if these wings are tethered, so probably these butterflies going to survive less than those butterflies that have intact wings. So the thought is the intact wings will survive long. So these are the observation that the two butterflies have different type of wings. And the hypothesis is that those butterflies have intact wings will survive long. So in my last lecture, I have covered very basic things regarding how to recognize a journal by Shimago journal rating, science citation factor, science citation index, Elgin factor, H factor. So in this presentation, I would try to cover the very basics thing regarding the clinical study. And my two disclosure, number one, the senior professor like Rokeya Anwar Madam, Shahana Appa, Kamal Fai, Junaki Madam might find it very primitive. So my apologies for them because it's for the residency students. Number two, sometimes I might take some help my native language Bangla because explaining biostatistics is not a very simple task. So sometimes I might find some shortage of words. So that's time I might need some help from my mother language. So sometimes I can speak in Bengali. So come to the question, what is observation and hypothesis? So come to the recent examples, that is the butterfly. So one butterfly has intact wing and the other one has the tethered wing. So there are difference between these two wings. So that is the observation. And the hypothesis is intact wing will survive longer. So come to the first question. Now, this is the question that I have already posted in that poll. And I have found that maximum numbers are come with the phase 2 trial. So I think we might have some refreshed knowledge regarding this phase of the study. So that's answer would be that is the phase 1 trial. Come to see what are the trials. You can see that the trials are run by phase. So phase 0 up to phase 4. So phase 0 is a preclinical phase. So that is not our concern. After phase 0, phase 1 study, it is a short duration study and it includes a fewer number of patients, sometimes patients, sometimes healthy personals. And thereafter, after phase 1, there will be phase 2 trial. And in phase 2 trial, the number of patients would be higher than the phase 1. And after phase 2, there will be phase 3 and then phase 4. I will cover in details. You can see that the phase 1 trial, we can name it as dose finding trial. That means in the phase 1 trial, we will try to find a specific dose that can be tolerated by a person. So the phase 1 trial is the toxicity finding trials. So this is the dose that can produce this toxicity. So that the dose that can be given to the patient. So the dose findings trial is phase 1 trial. In this trial, the first human are involved. So before the phase 1 trial, all phase was on animal study. So in this study, it tries to find out the highest dose that can be safely given. The main concern was safety. Disease response is not a purpose of this study. Usually placebo not used, no randomization, and very small number of patients are included in this study. But we should keep it in mind that phase 1 trial carries the most potential risk. But if you could see that any guidelines, that NCCN guidelines, NICE guidelines, ESMO guidelines, you could see that getting the highest number of clinical benefit, you need to participate in a clinical trial. So there's the trial, that's the phase 1 trial in the terminal care of patients, in the cancer patients or HIV patients. The phase 1 trials are going to give a hopes to the patients. So that's why phase 1 trial is so important for particularly the terminal care of patients. But in general, it is the dose finding or toxicity analysis trial or dose escalation trial, how much dose that can be safely given to the patient. So our answer was phase 1 trial. Now, after phase 1 trial, there will be phase 2 trial. So the phase 2 trial, we usually try to see whether this drugs really works or not. So in another word, we can say that it is an early efficacy trial. So here the total number of patients might be less than 100. Sometimes it could be higher, sometimes it could be lesser. But the dose here usually used, the dose which was found safe in phase 1 trial. In this phase 2 trial, placebo are not used as like phase 1 trial. But the limitation of this phase 2 trial that some rare toxicities are not found in this phase 2 trial because the sample size is very slow, very less. In phase 2 trial, if we found that the benefit versus side effects is superior, the benefit is superior, then ultimately the trial goes to phase 3. So phase 3 is the early efficacy trial, phase 2, early efficacy trial with a shorter number of patients. Here we can see the way that these drugs are really working or not. Now come to the phase 3 trial. Most of us here are very familiar with this phase 3 trial, that is the comparative trial or randomized control trial. Most of the trials, even the paper which we have discussed over here in this night, it is also a phase 3 randomized control trial. So in this phase 3 trial, here it was seen that the newer drugs, whether it is better than what we have already existed. So it is compared the effectiveness, safety with the standard treatment that is currently practiced. So in this phase 3 trial, it included a large number of patients, and usually it lasts longer, at least than phase 1 and phase 2 trial. Sometimes placebo are used, and patients are very closely monitored for side effects, and sometimes the treatment are closed, even they are very hard to manage for some toxicities. So that is the beauty of this phase 3 trial. It gives an idea, head-to-head compare, so which arm is superior, which arm is inferior. Here you can see that the GOG trial, that the one arm that was kept in observation, in another arm, they were treated with radiotherapy. So that at least they compare head-to-head and they found some superiority, some inferiority. So that is the beauty of this phase 3 trial. And ultimately, this is the trial which gives us the idea to take or to pick up a modalities of treatment. So after the phase 3 trial, usually a drugs or any modalities get an FDA approval. So what next? So drugs has already got an FDA approval, but phase 4, usually we used to see what more we can know from these drugs, because this is new drugs. And phase 3 trial, it was tried with thousands number, sometimes more than thousands number of patients, but that is not all. So it is a time to state trial, phase 4 trial. So even after the FDA approval, these patients, those who are taking these drugs, are kept in observation. And in this long-term trial, it was seen that the quality of life versus cost effectiveness. So based on this trial, sometimes FDA can reject their approval also. So that is the phase 4 trial. So in short, these are the trial, phase 1 trial. In this phase 1 trial, we used to see the toxicity or dose escalation that is absorbed by the patients. Phase 2 trial, early efficacy trial. Phase 3 randomized control trial, and phase 4 is efficacy and long-term toxicity analysis trial. Now my second question was, what is the intention to treat? So I am sure in just going through a paper, most of us have seen this word, intention to treat. But actually, what does it mean? It means all patients who are randomized, he should be analyzed. So come to the question, so what is the intention to treat? You can see that suppose 300 patients are randomized, in one arm 150 patients and one arm 150 patients. So in arm A, 150 patients, the analyzed will be done with 150 patients, irrespective of whether the patients really took the treatment or not. Here you can see they received incorrect treatment, completed treatment, did not receive treatment. Sometimes some of the patients died, lost to follow-up, discontinued treatment, stopped treatment. So all these things can happen. So even with these very odd things, we have to calculate the number of patients that was randomized. So that is the intention to treat. So here you can see, let's come up with any mathematical analysis. So here the study was done with patient cerebrovascular disease. So it was hypothesis that surgery with aspirin produced less stroke than aspirin alone. So in this arm, you can see that before going to surgery, 10 patients develop stroke. So there is no association between this stroke with surgery. But even in this arm, 10 stroke happened before the surgery. And after the surgery, you can see only 10 strokes happens. And on the aspirin arm, you can see that 20 strokes happen. But here you can see that when you are going to analyze this study, that 100 patients, you have to calculate it, that intention to treat, because the 100 patients were randomized in this arm. So the 20 patients was considered as a stroke patient out of 100. So you could see that 0.2. Though these 10 strokes has no association between the surgery, because it has happened after this surgery. So that is the limitation, I could say, that is the intention to treat. But with being such in limitation, why this intention to treat was considered as the standard of analysis? Because if it dilutes some what I could say, it helps some uniformity, it gives some uniformity, because otherwise there is a chance of bias, because sometimes some patients may leave this trial, some crossover was there, so there might be some disuniformity regarding this analysis. So that's in short in intention to treat patients. So in short, the patient who was randomized, he was analyzed. That is the intention to treat analysis. So designing a phase 3 trial, the basis is randomization. What is the importance of this randomization? Because randomization reduces selection bias. And sometimes some factors like age, sex, histopathology might have some prognostic factors. So even if these things are there, we should stratify randomized assignments. So we should randomize in such a way that the all strata are distributed in two arms uniformly. So that randomization is called stratified random assignment. So come to the null hypothesis. In my first slides, I have shown the butterflies. So the null hypothesis is that in that butterfly's wings, we hypothesize that the intact butterfly's wing will going to survive more than the tethered wings. But if we consider it as null hypothesis, the null hypothesis will say that there will be no difference between these wings. So you can see there is some null hypothesis examples that the cats show no preference for food based on the shape. So there is no interest of a cat regarding the shape of the food. So plants growing is not associated with the color of light. So there is no difference between the growth with the color of light. You can see age has no effect on musical ability. So there is no difference. If there is no difference, then we could consider it as a null hypothesis. So null hypothesis is usually denoted as A0. And if there is null hypothesis, there might be alternative hypothesis. So null hypothesis is going to say that there will be no difference. And alternative hypothesis say that there is a difference. So here you can see the null hypothesis, the butterflies with intact wings will survive as long as the tethered wings. So there will be no difference between the survivors. So the alternative hypothesis there saying that the butterflies with intact wings will survive longer than the tethered wings. So to determine this, to assess this hypothesis, to hypothesis test, we need to take some helps with some statistical measures. And the p-value is one of the most important value. We already know that is the p-value, but what does it mean? What does p-value mean? Some of us may say this, that it means the probability. Yes, it is partially right, but it is not completely right. P-value means the probability of that the null hypothesis is correct. That means if I am seeing that the p-value is 0.1, that means that if I am going to test this examination 100 times, that 10 times null hypothesis will be correct. If I am saying that the p-value is 0.05, that means if I am going to do this test 100 times, 5 times that null hypothesis will be correct. So that the 95% type, the alternative hypothesis will be correct. And our objective is to reject the null hypothesis to accept the alternative hypothesis. So come to this type 1 and type 2 error. I wish that we could have another sessions on this type 1, type 2 error, just to give an idea, because I am not going to discuss it details in this short time. So type 1 error, in short, there might be very different type of definition, but type 1 error, in short, we can memorize that is false positive. False positive means that you have rejected the null when it is actually true. So what is alpha? So alpha is the probability of making type 1 error. So that alpha, usually we said that type 1 error, that means that false positive, the probability of false positive, that there is no difference between these two arms, but we have considered it as a statistically significant. So that's why the alpha has a value, and we usually consider it as 0.05. And come to type 2 error, that means false negative. That means that we have accepted the null values, but actually it should be rejected. Both these errors are very, very harmful, because when we are going to do type 1 error, that means that we are accepting a drugs, considering it as a statistical significant, but actually it is not a real drugs. But when we are going type 2 type of type 2 error, that means we are losing a drugs that really have some potentials. So to design a statistics, we need to very meticulous regarding the setting of this power, that the type 1 error should be 0.5, type 2 error should be 2, and the power usually is the 1 minus beta. That means how strength the study has. So I am sure that we will going in details with some of these lectures, the type 1, type 2, and the power of the study. I am not going in details in these things. So that's all regarding these things. I think we should, in our next few lectures, we will cover in details. So today's lectures, in sum up, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials. And there are 2 types of hypothesis, the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. In the clinical studies, we used to reject the null hypothesis, and we try to accept the alternative. So if alternative if null hypothesis can be rejected, then we could see that statistical significance is achieved. So there are 2 types of error, alpha 1 error, alpha 2, type 1, type 2 error. Alpha is the probability of doing alpha 1 error, and beta is the probability of type 2 error. And keep it in mind, if you could set up alpha as 0.05, so you should try to get your p less than alpha. So if p is less than alpha, that means less than 0.05, then you are statistical significant. So always you should try to get your p less than your alpha levels. So that's all. I think we need to discuss in details, because statistics is not a very easy thing. So thank you the organizers, thank you Shana Appa for arranging such a beautiful program. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
সুমন ভাই, I have a question.
Yes, please.
আপনি বলেন intention to treat.
Yeah.
কোন জার্নালে লেখা থাকে indent to treat, তাহলে দুটার মধ্যে পার্থক্য কি?
Indent.
হ্যাঁ, indent to treat.
আমার ইন্ডেন্ট টু ট্রিট জানা নাই। একটা আমরা যেভাবে অ্যানালাইসিস করি একটা হচ্ছে
হ্যাঁ,
ইন্ডেন্ট।
আমি যে এর আগের দিন যে জার্নালটা প্রেজেন্ট করেছিলাম সেখানে আমার জার্নালে স্ট্রেন্থ ছিল যেটা ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট, কিন্তু আগের জার্নালগুলোর একটা ড্রব্যাকে ওরা লিখেছিল যে আগের জার্নালগুলোর ড্রব্যাক ছিল যে ওরা ট্রিটমেন্ট ছিল ইনডেন্ট টু ট্রিট। তো আমি দুটো ডিফারেন্স তখন বুঝি নাই আসলে।
এটা আসলে দুইটা সিমিলার টাইপ। আমরা ইন্টেনশন, আমরা যেটা অ্যানালাইসিস করি একটা হচ্ছে ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট, আর একটা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের ওই যে মানে ট্রিট টু
তার মানে কি যে আমি ধরে নিব যে এই পেশেন্টটাকে আমি মানে এই ট্রিটমেন্ট দিব, আগে একটু সিলেক্ট করে নিয়ে তারপর পেশেন্টটাকে দিব, এরকম কিছু
না। বিষয়টা হচ্ছে ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট মানে কি, এগুলো খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং। আমি ওগুলো জানতাম না, আমি আস্তে আস্তে দেখতেছি এটা। সেটা হচ্ছে ইন্টেনশন ট্রিট মানে হচ্ছে ধরেন যে আমরা এই যে গ্রুপটা, আমরা যে জিওজি ট্রায়ালে আমরা ট্রায়াল টার্গেট করছি যে আমরা 250 লোককে 250 পেশেন্টকে ট্রিট করলাম, র্যান্ডমাইজেশন করছি 250 জনকে।
হ্যাঁ, আমি সবাইকে যাদেরকে সিলেক্ট করলাম তাদের সবাইকে আমি ট্রিটমেন্ট দিলাম, সবাইকে অ্যানালাইসিস করলাম। এটা
কিন্তু এমনও তো হইতে পারে যে আপনি একজন ক্লাসকে সিলেক্ট করলেন, সে ট্রিটমেন্ট কিছু নিলই না, বাড়ি যাওয়ার সময় মারা গেল। হ্যাঁ, সে আজকে র্যান্ডমাইজড হয়েছে, তাকে আপনি র্যান্ডমাইজেশনে ইনক্লুড করছেন, সে কোনো ট্রিটমেন্ট নেয় নাই, সে বাসায় যাওয়ার সময় রোড অ্যাক্সিডেন্টে মারা গেল, কিন্তু আপনাকে কিন্তু এই রোগীটাকে কনসিডার করতে হবে অ্যাজ এ ডেথ হিসাবে।
সেটা তো ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিটমেন্টে গেল,
রাইট।
কিন্তু ইনডেন্ট টু ট্রিট মানে কি তাহলে?
আমি ঠিক ক্লিয়ার জানি না, বাট আমার কাছে মনে হয় প্রবাবলি
এটা আমিও পাই নাই, এটা আমিও পড়েছি কিন্তু এটা আমি পাচ্ছি না। কামাল ভাই ক্লিয়ার করে দেন।
আমরা নেক্সট উইক এটা পরে এসে বলবো, না জেনে বলার দরকার নেই।
আচ্ছা,
আমি যতটুকু জানি এখানে দুটোই আছে, একটা হচ্ছে ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট আর পার প্রোটোকল। ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট হচ্ছে যেটা সুমন বললো, যে কয়জন আমি চিন্তা করেছি যে এই কয়জনকে আমি ট্রিটমেন্ট দিব, তারা কোনো কারণে মরে গেল বা চিকিৎসা নিল না বা কোনো কারণে এক্সক্লুশন হয়ে গেল, তারা সবাই এর ইনক্লুড হবে। আর হ্যাঁ, পার প্রোটোকলে হচ্ছে যারা বাকি থাকবে, মানে কোনো কারণে যারা মারা গেল বা লাস্ট পর্যন্ত যে কয়জন পেলাম, ধরেন যে 100 জনের মধ্যে আমি 70 জন বিভিন্ন কারণে চিকিৎসা নিল না, আমি তখন শুধু 70 জনেরই অ্যানালাইসিস করব, নট 100 জনের। আর পার প্রোটোকলে ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিটে আমি 100 জনেরই অ্যানালাইসিস করব। এটাই হচ্ছে
আমি যে কয়জন থাকবে
ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট। আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে যে এরকম কোন টার্ম আমরা এর আগে কোনোদিন শুনিনি। এটা কি, যাই হোক, এটা আমাদের পরে দেখতে হবে।
আমি জার্নালটা তাহলে পাঠাবো, লেখাটুকু মার্ক করে।
আমাদের যেটা মানে তপেশদা বললো সেটা হচ্ছে যে পার প্রোটোকল। এটা ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং। দেখেন যে এই যে আমি যেটা স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করছি, যেটা আমি দেখালাম, যে আপনি যদি এই অ্যানালাইসিসটা যদি পার প্রোটোকলে করেন, তার মানে আপনি আগের যে সার্জারির আগে 10টা স্ট্রোক যেটা হয়েছে এটাকে যদি আপনি বাদ দিয়ে দেন, তাহলে 100 জনের মধ্যে আপনার স্ট্রোক কিন্তু হয়েছে মানে 10 জন যদি আপনি বাদ দেন, তাহলে 90 জনের মধ্যে 10 জন, তখন আপনার হ্যাজার্ড রেশিও আসতেছে কিন্তু 45। কিন্তু যখন আপনি ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট করতেছেন তখন কিন্তু আপনার আর্মের মধ্যে কোনো ডিফারেন্স নাই। যে মানে আমাদের এইখানে আমরা যে দেখলাম, আমি যে কামাল ভাইকে বলতেছিলাম যে জিওজি ট্রায়ালে কেন ওভারঅল সার্ভাইভাল নাই। ওভারঅল সার্ভাইভাল নাই কিন্তু এই কারণ হচ্ছে আমরা রেডিওথেরাপি যে কতগুলো পেশেন্টকে আমরা দিতে চাইছি, এর মধ্যে 9 জন পেশেন্ট রেডিয়েশন থেরাপি নেয় নাই। তারপর কয়জন পেশেন্ট আপনার ইনকমপ্লিট রেডিয়েশন থেরাপি নিয়ে গেছে। কিন্তু আপনি যখন অ্যানালাইসিস করছেন তখন কিন্তু এই সবগুলোকে আপনাকে কনসিডার করতে হচ্ছে অ্যাজ এ রেডিয়েশন থেরাপি আর্মি হিসাবে। এই কারণে আপনি যখন মানে মাথাপিছু হিসাব করে দেখবেন যে আপনি রেডিওথেরাপি যে আর্মে দিচ্ছেন সেই আর্মে লোকাল রিকারেন্স কিন্তু কম, মানে আপনার ডেথও কম, কিন্তু আলটিমেটলি স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্যাল সিগনিফিকেন্স অ্যাচিভ করতে পারে নাই, শুধুমাত্র ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট হিসাবে অ্যাসেস করার জন্য।
সুমন, ওই ক্ষেত্রে কি ওই টার্মটা ইউজ করে পুলড হ্যাজার্ড রেশিও, যেটা ধরেন হ্যাজার্ড রেশিও হলো উইথ সব পেশেন্ট
হ্যাজার্ড রেশিও অন্য জিনিস,
আলাদা জিনিস।
ওরা আলাদা হিসাব করে, তখন কি এই জিনিসটা হিসাব করে পুলটা যেটা বাদ দিয়ে দেয় ওগুলোকে?
পুল ডেটা অ্যানালাইসিস আবার অন্য একটা হিসাব, এটা আমরা আরেকটাতে যাব, আরেকদিকে যাব।
Intent to treat. Intention to intent to treat like a target. Intent not intent হবে না।
মনে হয় এটাই মনে হয় ইন্টেনশন টু ট্রিট কে হয়তো ইন্টেন্ট টু ট্রিট এটা এভাবে বলতে চাইছে, এটাও হতে পারে।
ইন্টেন্ট টু ট্রিট, রাইট, এটা কোন
ইন্টেন্ট টু ট্রিট এটা এইভাবে হয়তো বলতে চাইছে। যাই হোক, এটা আচ্ছা সুমন, একটা বিষয় আমি একটু আমার একটু কনফিউশন আছে। যেমন ধরেন আমরা তো যেমন পি ভ্যালু লেস দেন 0.05 অর পি ভ্যালু মোর দেন 0.05 এটা বললাম, এটা ইজি যে কোনটা সিগনিফিকেন্ট কোনটা সিগনিফিকেন্ট। অনেক সময় দেখা যায় পি ইকুয়াল টু 0.00163 এরকম আসলো। হোয়াট ডাজ ইট মিন? ইজ ইট সিগনিফিকেন্ট?
আচ্ছা, এটার মানে হচ্ছে, আমি আপনাকে আগেই বলছি দাদা, যে পি ভ্যালু মানে কি? পি ভ্যালু মানে হচ্ছে যে প্রবাবিলিটি অফ নাল হাইপোথিসিস ইজ কারেক্ট। তার মানে আপনি পি যদি বলেন যে 0.05, তার মানে হচ্ছে 5% চান্স হচ্ছে যে আপনার নাল হাইপোথিসিস কারেক্ট, মানে 95% আপনার রিসার্চ প্রজেক্টটা এস্টাবলিশ হওয়ার কথা। মানে আপনার
100 বার আমি যদি টেস্টটা করি 95% 95 বার এটা কারেক্ট হবে, আর 5 বার ভুল হবে।
95 বার আপনাকে বলবে যে আপনি যে ড্রাগস দিবেন দ্যাট ইজ কারেক্ট, মানে রেডিয়েশন থেরাপি যেটা দিবেন দ্যাট ইজ সুপিরিয়র। এখন আপনি যদি পি ভ্যালু 0.00016 পান, তার মানে বুঝতে হবে যে আপনি 1000 বার যদি করেন তাহলেও আপনার এটা চান্স হবে 990 বার, মানে আপনি আরো সিগনিফিকেন্ট অ্যাচিভ করতে পারছেন আপনি।
মানে এটা অর্থ হচ্ছে সিগনিফিকেন্ট, ইজ ইট?
মোর সিগনিফিকেন্ট, শুধু সিগনিফিকেন্ট না, দ্যাট ইজ মোর সিগনিফিকেন্ট।
না, এটা আমি এই প্রশ্নটা করার মূল উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে আমরা তো বেশিরভাগ ক্ষেত্রে পি ভ্যালু লেস দেন 0.01 বলি অর পি ভ্যালু মোর দেন 0.0। এখানে পি ইকুয়াল টু কেন দিল? এটা তো আমি সরাসরি বলতে পারি পি ভ্যালু লেস দেন 0.05 সো ইট ইজ সিগনিফিকেন্ট। কেন আমি এটা পি ইকুয়াল টু, অনেক জায়গায় দেখবেন যে পি ইকুয়াল টু লিখছে 0.005,
আচ্ছা
0.001 অর 0.003 0.006 এরকম লিখছে।
কোশ্চেনটা বুঝতে পারছি। প্রথম কথা হচ্ছে পি হচ্ছে একটা ম্যাথমেটিক্যাল টার্ম। ধরেন আমি মিডিয়ান যদি বের করি, আমি টি টেস্ট করে এটাকে অ্যানালাইজ করব। টি টেস্টে পি ভ্যালু একটা ম্যাথমেটিক্যাল একটা টার্ম আসবে, ধরেন সেটা আসলো 0.002 সাপোজ। এখন এই পি ভ্যালুটা যদি 0.002 আসে, আর আমি যদি স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্স করার আগে আমি ধরে রাখি যে আমার লেভেল অফ সিগনিফিকেন্স লেভেল হচ্ছে 0.05, আমি পাইছি কত? পি হচ্ছে 0.002, তার মানে ডেফিনেটলি পি হচ্ছে 0.05 এর থেকে ছোট। এই পি 0.002 লেখার উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে এটা বোঝায় দেওয়া যে এই লেভেল অফ সিগনিফিকেন্সটা আসলে কত এক্সট্রিম সিগনিফিকেন্ট। হ্যাঁ, বাট এটা শুধু সিগনিফিকেন্ট না, এটা 95% লেভেলে সিগনিফিকেন্ট না, এটা 99% লেভেলে সিগনিফিকেন্ট। দ্যাটস ওই
আমি সেই জায়গায় আমরা এরকমই তো বলতে পারি পি লেস দেন 0.001, তাহলে আমার এটা হয়ে যায় পি লেস দেন 0.001।
না, পি লেস দেন 0.001 আপনার দরকার নাই বলার। আপনি পি 0.05 এর নিচে বললে এটা সিগনিফিকেন্ট, আর পি ভ্যালুটা দিয়ে দেওয়ার উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে আপনি বুঝে নেবেন যে আপনার লেভেল অফ সিগনিফিকেন্স কোন জায়গায়,
কতটা সিগনিফিকেন্ট।
রাইট।
এখানে বোধহয় পয়েন্ট, মানে এখানে পি ভ্যালুটা অ্যাচিভ হয় 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 থেকে 1 পর্যন্ত।
0 থেকে 1 এর মধ্যে একটা ভ্যালু হয়,
ভ্যালু 0.5 এর যদি কম হয়, লেস দেন 0.5 এর, তাহলে সিগনিফিকেন্ট। ইফ ইট ইজ মোর দেন 0.05 then it is not significant.
দাদা এটারও একটা বিষয় আছে যে 0.05 হলে সিগনিফিকেন্ট হবে সেরকম না। এটা হচ্ছে যে সায়েন্টিস্ট তার ফ্রিডম, সে আপনার স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্যাল করার আগে সে যখন প্রোটোকল ডিজাইন করবে, সে লেভেল অফ সিগনিফিকেন্স ঠিক করবে। সে যদি মনে করে 0.05 এর লেভেল অফ সিগনিফিকেন্স ঠিক করতেছে, তাহলে 0.05। সে যদি মনে করে যে 0.01 এর লেভেল অফ সিগনিফিকেন্স ঠিক করবে, তাহলে 0.01।
ঠিক আছে, ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Ahana, আমার মনে হয় we should conclude, but there is one interesting question: is meta-analysis a part of phase 4 or a separate entity? Suman.
Meta-analysis আপনার
so meta-analysis, let me help. So meta-analysis is not phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. It is totally different story. Meta-analysis করা হয় here that they collect many information, many study, many trial. First they give a search, thousands and thousands papers comes. Then they fix a criteria. With the criteria they exclude the paper. Finally they select which paper has justified their criteria. And then they sum up multiple trials together and then they come to a conclusion. That is a meta-analysis. So এটা কেউ meta-analysis of all phase 3 trial করতে পারে, meta-analysis of retrospective review করতে পারে, এটা আবার combinationও হতে পারে. So it is nothing to do with phase 1, 3, 4. It is a সোজা বাংলায় বলা যায় অনেক ট্রায়ালের একসঙ্গে একটা সায়েন্টিফিক মানে একত্রে করে এটার একটা সামারি প্রেজেন্ট করার হচ্ছে মেটা-অ্যানালাইসিস।
এটা কোনো ক্লিনিক্যাল ট্রায়াল না স্যার, এটাই তো স্যার।
ওই সমস্ত ট্রায়ালগুলো একটা একই জিনিস আসলে টেস্ট করেছে, নট দ্যাট ডাইভার্স।
একটা টপিকের উপরে হবে, সেটা তারা আগে একটা ক্রাইটেরিয়া ঠিক করে নেয় কিভাবে তারা সিলেকশন করবে, তারপরে তারা ওই সবগুলো রেজাল্টকে অ্যানালাইসিস করে। অ্যানালাইসিস লিমিটেশন গুলো দেখে যে অ্যানালাইসিসে কিছু প্রবলেম থাকে, বাট ফাইনালি দে কাম টু এ কনক্লুশন যে এই 10টা আরসিটিকে অ্যানালাইসিস করে এইটা আমরা রিকমেন্ড করতে পারছি থ্রু দ্য মেটা অ্যানালাইসিস। সো ইট ইজ এ হায়ার লেভেল অফ রিকমেন্ডেশন।
আমাদের মেটা অ্যানালাইসিসের উপরে আমাদের ক্লাস হবে, আমরা ফরেস্ট প্লট এক্সপ্লেইন করব, আমরা এগুলো ভবিষ্যতে ইনশাআল্লাহ ক্লিয়ার হতে পারবো।
সুমন, আমার
একটা কনক্লুডিং আমি শোন ভাই মাসুম বলছিলাম।
জি মাসুম, হ্যাঁ মাসুম তুমি তো এই লাইনের লোক, বলো।
না আমি এই লাইনের লোক সেভাবে না, আসলে আমি শুনলাম চমৎকার সেশন ছিল, ইনিশিয়েটিভটা চমৎকার ছিল। আপনি যেটা বললেন যে সামনে টাইপ 1 টাইপ 2 এরর নিয়ে আলাপ করবেন, তার আগে শোন ভাই আমাদের যদি কনফিডেন্স ইন্টারভ্যালের সঙ্গে পি ভ্যালু এই যে একটা রিলেশন, এইটা নিয়ে যদি একটা সেশন বা ওর আগে যদি একটু করে নেন, তাহলে আমার মনে হয় যে এটা আমাদের জন্য খুব বেনিফিশিয়ারি হবে।
ওকে ঠিক আছে, এগ্রিড। আমরা তোমার সাথে এই ব্যাপারে কথা বলবো, তোমাকে নিয়েই করব ডিজাইনটা।
আমরা টোটাল একটা লিস্ট করব, করে এটা পাবলিশ করব। আর তোমার প্রেজেন্টেশনটার জন্য সাজেশনটার জন্য ধন্যবাদ। আমরা ফার্স্ট টাইম অ্যাটাচমেন্টটা সার্কুলেট করেছিলাম, এইবার উই আর সরি বাই মিস্টেক এটা সার্কুলেট হয় নাই। অবশ্যই আমরা জার্নালটা তোমাদেরকে পাঠাবো, ফার্স্ট টাইম কিন্তু আমরা পাঠিয়েছিলাম। শান আমার মনে কনক্লুড করো, অলমোস্ট 11টা বেজে গেছে।
হ্যাঁ, ওই জার্নালটা আমরা তো সার্কুলেট করি নাই। আর মানে রিসার্চের যেই টপিকসটা আলোচনা করবে সেইটাও আমার মনে হয় বেসিক্স থেকে শুরু করলে মনে ভালো হয়, এবং
আমরা পরে ডিসকাস করে টপিক ঠিক করে দেব প্লিজ।
থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। আমি এখন হাই স্যারকে, তার আগে আমরা একটু কুইজের ইয়েটা বলছি, উইনারকে আমার ভাই আপনি হাই স্যার, তাহলে এটা কুইজ উইনার যে তাকে আপনি হাই স্যার তার নাম ডিসক্লোজ করুন স্যার।
গাও কি করে
কুইজ উইনার
হ্যাঁ
ও
আমাদের তো কে দিবে?
সামির দেখান, সামির স্যারকে পাঠান।
গুড রিয়াদ, কংগ্রাচুলেশনস।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
তুমি তো বড় হয়ে যাবে টাকা পেতে পারবে।
উইনার ইজ ডক্টর আলতাফ হোসেন রিয়াদ।
থ্যাংক ইউ
সুমন, রিয়াদ তো সুইস ব্যাংকে অ্যাকাউন্ট খুলে ফেলতে পারবে অনকোন।
সুইস ব্যাংকে কারেক্টলি বলছেন। ওকে আর সামনে কুইজগুলিতে আর অংশগ্রহণ করতে দেওয়া যাবে না, কোনো কম্পিটিশন নাই।
ও আমাদের লেভেল ক্রস করে ফেলছে, ওকে এখন হাই লেভেলে পাঠাতে হবে।
থ্যাংক ইউ রিয়াদ।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
কংগ্রাচুলেশন রিয়াদ।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
কংগ্রাচুলেশনস।
It's already 10:57. 3 minutes.
Shana, finish.
3 minutes to be left.
Sir,
Okay, Shana.
we are ready to you are with us from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. and I want to congratulate and I want to give thanks to all the participants who are participating in the program, and also the presenter. And it is my great opportunity to make such a type of session, and I request Professor Haisar, he is the president of our oncology club, to conclude the session. Sir, please.
Thank you, Shana. Today's seminar was very nice. Everybody took part, and the discussions were very nice. Tomorrow also I described this study design some of these things nicely. Hopefully we shall be continuing this. And so let's close it now.
Yes, thank you. Next Wednesday is our tumor board session. Everybody is requested to attend the session next Wednesday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That everybody can read and come with preparation for the tumor board. Disease.
Yes, yes.
Okay, bye-bye. Khuda Hafiz.
শেষ করে দেন, সামির শেষ করে দেন।
Bye bye, bye bye everybody, bye bye.